Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. I hope you're having a really great day. I'm thankful for people in my life who tell me to take a break from time to time. I went to get on my personal coaching call and I had just puked. I think I got a little touch of the flu or something. And I said to Demi, I'm not feeling so good. She's like, well, maybe you should just like press pause. I'm like, so, took a little nap, let innate intelligence do its thing, and now like she's back. So I'm really thankful for having those kind of people in my life and thankful for this lady too. Dr. Rachae, welcome, and thanks for joining us today. So Dr. Rachae and I are going to talk about the 3 things that she has done successfully to create more space in her life. So she's a mom, she's a wife, she's a hunter, she's an influencer, she's an owner, she's a doctor, she does it all and doesn't even have a cape, which I can't even believe that. So, I think it's really awesome when we figure things out in our own lives to help others do the same. So let's start with give us your background. Like, what are all of the things that you're involved in? Because you're involved in the ICA, you're involved in Blair. Like, let's talk about that. You're one of 60 chiropractors globally who have their DCCJP, which is super, super, super uncommon. And yet you have that. Like, yeah, give us your background.
I mean, you said it. I apologize for my voice. Maybe I need a little more space. I actually just lost it, but in the last, I'm talking too much apparently, but we'll get through this little live here. So my background is just, I think I've always innately just loved to do lots of stuff and feel like I'm making an impact. And so I've always strived to be involved in a lot of different things. I grew up in a small town, graduated with 22 students. So, we were begging people to be on the team just to have a team. So I came from that background of like, just show up. Like getting there is half the battle. We just need you to stand there. I just need to stand there to make the team so that other people can go, do like, FBLA, you had to have a certain number of people because they had a certain number of events that you had to join in. So I'm like, I guess I'll do that so that the whole team can do, people who are really passionate about it can go. So I've always been involved in lots of different things, and same was true in chiropractic school, and I was in leadership through on all of boards and things through chiropractic school, student ICA. So I just continued that, and I continue to just show up, and I feel like for me, it brings me energy and space to see how everything's connected and know that, all of those things are making a bigger impact than just myself.
Nice. And so how have you used that like almost trait from your childhood to now create this committed team of docs who, like, one of the really cool things is that it's benefiting everybody, which is going to be number 2 for those of you who are watching. Like, here's number 2, systems that benefit the entire team, just not the owner. And then the third one we're going to get to, so stick around, is get your personal needs met outside your practice. So what's the number one thing that you've done to create a team of committed docs?
I think that leadership skills are definitely something that I have always continued to grow and read and listen to podcasts and hire outside coaching, because having that external, it's, when you're leading a group of individuals and building a team, to me, it's like an athletic event. You're the captain of the team. And so every captain has a coach, on that team. And I always say even Tiger Woods has a coach, even Michael Jordan had a coach, right? So when I'm leading, I would say my second, aside from payroll, my second expense every year is some sort of coaching, whether it's business coaching, leadership coaching, mentorship, whatever it be. So yeah, you're one of those people on my team.
And so what would you say you do differently in attracting really great talent? Because it's not a secret. Like, a lot of doctors, like even in our tribe, struggle with finding associates. I mean, I think some of it is where you live, and that's just
Oh, for
for
sure.
like outside junkie people. Like, um, it's attractive to come here or Spokane compared to, like, my practice was in a town of 5,000 people in southeastern Michigan. Like,
Right.
I had lots of associates, but what is your secret sauce that maybe others are missing who are wanting to have associates?
I think if people can see your passion and what you're doing, um, that's part of the showing up. Is I'm going to conferences and I'm going to schools and presenting, and I'm going to do little talks in specific clubs even if I don't travel there. I'm showing up on Zoom, so my face, I'm on different boards, so when students reach out, they hear my name, they see my name, because we can get really granular in our own offices, but that doesn't connect us everywhere else. So one answer to that is leading by example, because I did it, and so I can teach you how to do it. And so the work ethic behind what I do, leading by example, is something in all my sports, even as as a child. That's as I was, captains of the team. It was always leading by example and showing people, being able to copy what I did, just replicate it, and always out. I literally was just always out hustling. I probably was never the most talented, honestly, but I could out hustle everyone, right? Like the grit was always there. So I may not have got most valuable player, but I definitely got the hustle award, or I definitely
Yeah.
got the most inspirational award. Like there was something always that I was, striving for outside of necessarily, skill, innate skill. Um, so that's the work ethic piece. Leading by example is one of them, and then showing up, because if people don't know you exist, they don't know who you are, and they don't see you. I still think personal connection is, far outweighs these types of things where you're virtual. That's why I think it's important to physically show up to conferences and to physically show up to schools and physically be present with an associate who potentially wants to work with you. So
Yeah, and all of that speaks to, it's not a quick fix, right?
no,
It's a commitment. It's a journey to show up, be present, have the skill set to be able to help, to have the pedigree, all of those things, they absolutely do matter. So if you're someone who is looking to expand your team of doctors and you're not showing up and giving back to the community, like to the profession, start there. You're going to be shocked at how many people you get to know. And remember, conversations lead to connection, connection to relationship, and relationship to commitment. And it's really not even how many people you know who knows you. That's super important. Who knows you? I love that. So number 2, systems that benefit the entire team and not just the owner. So let's bring in Dr. Becky. What's recently happened on your team?
yeah, one of my passions. This is a passion of mine, and it came from the fact that when I was an associate, almost everybody, especially because I am in the upper cervical world, so technique, whatever you want to specialize in, it could be pediatrics or whatever. But in the upper cervical world, there were not a lot of female mentors. Of those female mentors, a lot of them did not have children, which is okay. But I wanted to learn from somebody who was pregnant during adjusting and took maternity leave. And so I had amazing mentors, and I love them, and they've totally got me where I am, but they could never tell me what it felt like or what it was like to adjust, while you're pregnant, or to adjust with your baby sitting in the corner, or adjust with your baby waking up crying in the back room because you brought them to work and they're napping and now they're awake and you're adjusting a patient and your ears are going, ah, baby, baby. So I just felt like there was this need to have a foundation and systems in place to create a balance between work and life. And I debated a lot, and I had kids later than I thought I would, because I didn't think that I could push my business pedal and my mom pedal at the same time. In every scenario that I saw, people were backing off on their business pedal to push their mom pedal. And so they'd either not practice at all and then go back, or they'd not practice and then they'd stop practicing altogether. Or they decided to not have kids because they couldn't do both and they had to pay rent and they had to pay their bills. And so they knew they would lose their practice and they didn't want to lose their practice. So I know that it's been done out there, right? Lots of women have been in practice, but in our world and in this bubble that I was looking for, I didn't see it. And so we created systems in the foundation to allow, and I had 2 kids first, so I kind of was the first person who had to go through maternity leave and see how that all affected the numbers. And the first time I went, I didn't really leave. I was still answering emails and going into the office and doing everything. And then the second time I took maternity leave, I totally put my hands up and gave it to everybody. So that's where the team, building a committed team is first and foremost, because now I could step back and everybody else could just be hammering along, but then creating the systems that are reproducible, because the whole goal for me taking maternity leave was to know that other people could do it and they could do it within our systems and they can still make, over a 6-figure income. So you don't feel like if I take maternity leave, I'm not going to be able to pay my, my mortgage at home because I'm, not working in the practice. And to me, it was, I think the United States is kind of bass backwards in how much emphasis we put on nurturing infants, and we need to be there. The working, I'm like, I'm the one who's definitely for equal rights and having women in the workforce, and like, but at the same time, there's something special about a mom and a bond, right? That needs to be that needs to be nurtured. And so to me, 3 months felt like a minimum of something time frame wise that we should be taking. And I see these these women chiropractic groups, and they're like, how did you guys navigate this? And comment after comment was like, oh, I had to go back in 3 weeks. It was awful. Oh, I had to step back. Oh, I could take leave. Luckily, my husband was able to run the practice. Right? It was never the female business owner that's stepping away, that's taking a full 3 months, who didn't have to go in, whose patients are all still being seen, So that was the motivation for me, and that, watching that happen, Becky was able to take 3 months leave. She's the clinic director at our South Hill office, and she's been with us for 7 years. She's amazing. She runs a show. But she was able to step out, and we had 2 other doctors who were able to cover her practice, and we're still set to grow this year, 10% growth. So when I took maternity leave, my goal was like, can we please just like stay even? Like, I don't care if we don't grow. If I'm the main producer stepping out of the office for 3 full months, it makes sense. Maybe we dip down a little bit, but my goal was always to stay, not necessarily dip. But I was okay with a 0% growth rather than what I'm normally striving for is at least 10 year over year. So we're set to grow even with one of our primary docs taking maternity leave, and she's working 3 half days. So she's coming back gradually, not jumping right back into 40 hours of patient hours and having to find childcare, and the baby gets to come for at least 8 months to the office with you, so you can gradually spend all that time. I mean, even though you're coming to work, you still get to bring your baby, and that was important. That's important to me.
And so do you have like an office nanny who will be taking care of her baby, or how do you work that?
So we have a CA, again, team, systems that benefit the entire team, and creating a good, solid team that's committed. Part of the interview, if you want to be on our team, is you have to be willing to hold a baby, change a diaper, because with female providers, inevitably there's going to be babies coming around. So the front desk takes the baby wears. Our CAs will take baby wearing. We put them on the floor, have a patient hold them, put them in a walker, put them in. I've had Axe and Johnny jump ups and all the things around the office. And then if he got fussy and I was with a new patient, then somebody would grab him, feed him, play with him. So we all would pitch in. So everybody pitches in.
And I just want everyone to hear that Becky's been there for 7 years. So this isn't, a lot of times we'll see someone doing something amazing and then we're like, "Oh, I want to do that too." But we never hear about, I remember reading this early on in business and it always stuck with me that every overnight success took about 6 years to grow. Like it takes time to get there, but get started. If this is the kind of practice that you want to have, eventually start now. And starting now is you got to have strong systems in place. Like Rachae has done the work to have the strong systems in place. It wasn't like, pop up practice and all of these things came into place. Like she had to learn and be trained and then train other people. And it's been, step by step by step because, like Mike Michalowicz talks about like the volcano, that if you don't have a strong base, as you grow without that strong base, you'll just have stuff that shoots out the top. Like you'll have staff that shoot out the top. You'll have revenue that shoots out the top instead of keeping it all contained as a strong foundation and structure. And so, anyone that's watching and this is like where you want to go, you have to get started now. Becky's been there for 7 years and Rachae built this culture with her practice members and her team over time of this is how we do things. We have babies scattered around and there isn't a right or a wrong. It's what is your culture, right? And that's what matters. And then remember that your office space has to match your culture. Like if you look around behind Rachae, there's not a bunch of crap on the floor. There aren't a bunch of things because there could be a walker in there that's got a baby running all over the place. So you also have to make sure that the people that you're attracting to serve, to have impact and earn income are in alignment with that kind of culture. Did I miss anything on that?
No,
Okay.
but
So then number 3, get your personal needs met outside your practice. What's that mean?
I'll go back. There is something else. You
Okay.
you mentioned you mentioned the 7 years or like the time frame. So I've been in practice now for 11 years. I graduated in or 12. I graduated September of 2011 from Life West. I did my first full year as an associate. He helped me open my own practice that I built for 2 years before I purchased it. So I've been technically a business owner, looking to hire associates for about 7 years. Luckily, Becky kind of landed in my lap. She was looking for somebody who had just graduated, who had been an associate. It just kind of, she knew what she wanted, which again is the power of telling the universe what you want. Like you talk about what is your culture? What do you want? I mean, this is getting really clear on the foundation and the systems, and the culture is super important. And it takes a lot of work, and I've messed up lots, and I've been in the toilet, and I've had employee turnover, and I've learned from everyone, right? And so it's not like it's been all roses, but we're constantly growing. And as long as your integrity and your intent and your vision, holds true, it will just keep adding and building. So that's what I had to add to number 2.
And I hope that everyone is hearing too that this hasn't been a solitary journey. Like Rachae's like, I'm gonna grow this empire just from what I already know. Like that's a terrible way to do it. And it doesn't work like that. Like when you study success, it's always done with mentorship. It's always done in community. It's never been a one-time thing. I can't remember who I was listening to, and it's kind of irrelevant, but they were talking about Elon Musk. Do you really think he knows how to build a satellite? Why would he need to do that? And yet, have you looked at the Starlink map? Holy cow, it's like a constellation of satellites. And
Yeah.
again, that didn't start last year.
Yeah.
Like it takes and it also takes us knowing what are we good at. And Mike Michalowicz in Clockwork talks about the 4Ds. There's do, decide, delegate, and design. And if as owner we stay doing, right? We're the ones that are always like doing, 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 doing. There's going to be a threshold by which our practice cannot grow, our business does not grow. And then, we get a little bit better, and then we're in the decide mode where we have other people doing, but we're still making all the decisions. So there's still this linchpin, right? Then the next stage is delegation. And so what Rachae has gotten really good at is delegating. And delegating doesn't mean delegating tasks, it means delegating outcomes. So I think one of the easiest ways to understand this is like a biller's job isn't to do your billing. A biller's job is to get you paid. So that means there are all of these other steps that the biller has to be responsible for, because your job is to get me paid. And whatever you don't know how to do to get me paid, I'll get you that training. But your job is to get me paid. Obviously, an associate's job is to help practice members get great results. And that means bring in revenue. Like, that's their job. And when we delegate that piece to them, it looks way different. So that as owner, you can sit in and be spending time in this design mode of what does this empire, this kingdom look like? And what are the things that need to be improved right now? What are the things that need to be improved a month from now? And what is the parking lot? So it's lots of different things that go into creating a brand like the one that Rachae has, and other docs who have great practices that are expanding. And it only happens when we do create this space. So number one, create a team of committed docs. Number two, systems that benefit the entire team, not just the owner. And then the third one, and Rachae and I are super passionate about this, which makes this Facebook Live even that much more fun, is get your personal needs met outside your practice. What does that look like?
So I have two little ones now. So spending a lot of time and having them around all the time is probably number one now. That's just been in the last 5 years. Also maintaining a relationship and doing fun things with my husband. I love to travel. So we went to Mykonos, we went to Lake Como, Italy. We've done little trips around. We've been to Texas recently. We've been to Vegas. Sometimes I pair them with chiropractic conferences and then just stay and elongate our trip. Um, we went to Florida recently, so making sure we have that connection and traveling. And then the day-to-day fun stuff, right? So we hunt and fish and camp and boat. We both got a lot of surfing time on our boat this summer, which was super fun, wake surfing. So I think I also brought the team out on the boat and incorporated them into the fun balance of life. And it's, work hard, play hard is for sure been my motto.
Yeah.
Yeah. I burn the candle at both ends, which is why I have a hoarse voice
Yeah.
today.
Well, and I have found being really intentional with it, being really intentional with my playtime of, just like I don't allow personal things to cloud into my business. When I'm doing personal, my business doesn't cloud in. Like, um, I made a commitment early on in practice, as a new doctor, the desire to touch people is pretty high. So, you meet somebody new and they're like, oh, well, my neck. So we just want to get our hands on them. And then I quickly learned those people were nowhere to be found, right? Like, they got their Band-Aid, they were on their way. And so I learned to say, like, I do my best work at my office. I'll see you Monday morning at 9 o'clock. I
Yeah.
didn't know if I had an appointment available or not, but I wanted to see if I was talking to an action taker or not. Well, that then led to I do my best work when I'm in work mode, not in between doing other things in my personal life. Like, it's kind of a big joke with my husband because he's always like, don't you need to check your phone? I'm like, nope, I'm not working. I will check my phone on Monday when I start work again. But right now, this is my playtime. And I have found too that it makes it so much easier to recharge when I'm focused. And, having an off-grid cabin, we've just upgraded our whole power system. And one of the things that happened was our old batteries wouldn't hold a charge that much anymore. So we're reusing so much more power to get them to capacity. And I'm like, "Oh, that's just like our lives.
Yes.
That if we're just barely humming and not really giving it our full attention, it's going to take a really long time to recharge. Also, getting our needs met outside our practice, then we don't come to our table with the need to be liked, the need to be right, the need to be heard, the need to be loved, the need to work things out. Like, get those needs outside your practice. So, Sheree, how do you coach your team to get their needs met outside the practice? So when they're serving your people, they stay at this higher level so that your practice members aren't coming in feeling like they're paying to have somebody else's needs met, which is just weird.
Yeah. This is my weak link, my Achilles heel. So I carving out personal time for me is like I literally have a Fox. It's called a Clever Fox planner that I have to I have to carve out me time because if I don't do it, I literally will fill it with business because I just love what I do. I love being in the office. I love helping patients. I love, my team. So I would say this is a really good question because it's probably my weakest link is I'm great at coaching them in the office, but coaching them outside of that is probably an area that I could, just like I have a coach that makes me put deliberate me time, and I have a coach that makes me go to Mykonos, Greece. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't want to leave the practice. And, you know, so what we do, I will say what we do for sure is quarterly team training. So we do something fun outside of the practice together. And then most of my practice members now, before, if anybody was sick or wanted to take vacation, it was like, oh no, what am I going to do? The beauty of having a committed team is that I'm able to staff in a way that, like right now, I have a front desk person who's gone to visit her son. She hasn't seen him in a year. He moved to the Midwest for a job. He's got a little baby that she hasn't been able to hold for a year, right? So she's gone for 2 weeks. And I'm okay. The house isn't going to burn down. I have another employee who's going to step into a role. So the building a committed team goes back to that. So I will say that I encourage those types of things, and we have the systems in place to encourage those. If somebody's sick, I used to be like, well, can you still come in? Because I don't know what I'm going
Right.
to do without a front desk. Like,
Yes.
take something, which I don't take anything, but I'm like, anything you have to do to like just show up.
Right.
Um, and so I think this has developed and grown and definitely improved over time. And it's improving still. We go over our wins. Every week we have a team meeting and we go over wins and areas of, action blocks. And so if, we focus on personal, but also on business and work life. So we do touch in on areas that maybe we're excited about and we celebrate those wins. I have another employee going on maternity leave in December. So she's going to be able to take 3 months maternity leave, again, just honing in on the family life and the work-life balance. And we have somebody in place to fill in her spot. The wins come from our weekly call sheets that we go over. So we celebrate those. And then if there is an area of action block, or, sometimes it's sleep. Well, a lot of times it's sleep or some sort of outside stressor in life. Employees having trouble finding housing, or maybe their relationship is stressed, or maybe they have a parent that's, just been diagnosed with cancer, right? So we encourage an environment of openness. That way we can help each other, and pick up the slack if there needs to be more space and extra time. And so we can all be on the same page and say, yeah, let that person go, rather than what are they doing? Why are they not showing up? Why aren't they here today? They're letting us all down. No, the culture is they need extra time and space. And so we're going to help facilitate them to build them up for that.
Well, and I think it's also really important. Like, So when you're down a man, right? Down a man. Like let's look at hockey. You can have someone in the penalty box and now you're down a player. You can have like multiple be down two players and now you're 3-on-5. Well, you know what happens? Strategy changes then. And we're not necessarily probably looking to score goals. We're just looking to defend our goal right now because we're down a man. So I think it's so important when we build a team to also make sure when something isn't going right or somebody needs that space to come up here and be like, okay, well, maybe we're just not going to serve as many people in the month of June. Like, is that okay? Can we make up for that in the other 11 months instead of panicking? Like, not every month is going to look the same. They're going to be high months, they're going to be low months, and they're going to be months that are in between. And I always think like if we just look at physics, something that's in motion, it's easier to keep it in motion. So I always like looking at making my bigger months bigger instead of being like, oh, well, that month sucks. So let's bring that up. That sounds like a terrible idea. Let's just like, that's the suck month. Everybody go on vacation during different weeks of time. And when we build a culture of we're all in this, and I've said this a million times, we're in this game called life and we're in it to win it together, then there are times I can show up really strong and there are times that I can't show up really strong as owner or as associate or as CA. And to know that my team has my back and when they need me, I'll be there is such a beautiful culture. So Rachae, as we wrap this up, we're also doing this for the 60-day sprint. So offer to our audience that is with us now and that will watch us later, what do you love about the sprint and why do you as leader have your entire team participate?
The cool part about this is my associate led the boat on this. So she initiated it, which is cool, and I got on board, right? Um, the reason I like the 60-day sprint, I've initiated in the past, right? And I've been a sprint coach in the past as well.
Yeah, Rachae was one of our first sprint coaches back in 2022, 2020. Sorry,
I
the
was gonna
first
say
time we
it
did
was
it.
a lot. It felt feels like a lot longer than a year ago. Yeah,
January 2020.
crazy. So I think that these are so important because it goes back to that level of connectedness when you have a group of people that aren't yourself working together to do the same things. For me, it's it's motivating. It changes up the monotony of every day, because we get in our routines and we get in our patterns. And in the Blair world, which is the upper cervical technique that I specialize in, we talk about slips and checks, and this is what Atlas does. And so in life, we kind of slip sometimes, and we need to get checked. And we start creating bad habits we don't even know we're creating. Our patients do this, right? They don't even realize how bad it's gotten until they're completely debilitated. So it's like this thermostat switch on a, not thermostat, but a light switch. If you were to decrease that by 1%, the light that's coming out, every month, you would never notice how dim your room or how dim your life was getting until that light completely went to zero. And so sometimes in practice, the same thing happens, and we just kind of slowly start, straying from our systems and straying from our culture, and we other things start occupying us. And so the 60-day sprint is such a good way to kind of reset, regroup, refocus, find fun in stuff that you normally wouldn't do, but you're doing them anyways, but you're not really putting a ton of energy. Like, we track numbers every week, but I don't dive into them as much as when I'm in the 60-day sprint, which means I'm probably missing a few details and areas of opportunity or celebration. That's one thing I love about the 60-day sprint is you're celebrating the wins, right? I'm not, I like hit a goal and I'm on to the next. I like forget that I even hit that goal, which is not a good thing. One of the things that I love, about Barb and this 56-day boot camp and these 60-day sprints is you get to celebrate those little wins, and remember to celebrate that. So that's what I love about the 60-day sprint is the camaraderie, the regrouping, the refocus, the external motivation. Again, like having a coach, somebody else to hold you accountable. as far as my team is concerned and why I get them on board, why we get them on the board is because on board with it is because I'm sure they get sick of me talking to them and holding them accountable all the time. It's nice to have a separate entity, a separate person, a separate coach, a new face, a new voice, whatever it is. That's kind of still pointing us in the North Star. They're not taking us in a different direction. We're still going in the same direction. It's just like giving us a little extra engine, attaching that to our boat so that we have a little extra momentum towards that North Star.
Yeah, it's kind of like since our practice members and our team are, very much like family. I think of it like I remember when my ex and I split up, and my philosophy with his girlfriends were I want as many people in this world to love my kids as possible. So as long as you're a positive force in their life, I'm all in. And I wanted, and my prayer for my kids has always been help them to be a blessing as they are blessed. And I really see how, like, within our tribe, like, that's what we all do for one another is we help just like love on one another's team or love on one another, period, to just make the journey that much more rewarding. So thank you for being a coach when we first started this, and for participating. It's been really fun to watch you grow and to see your team. And I love that you've built such a strong culture that is is really 100% in alignment with who you are. Like, there isn't, clear spoken Rachae and then personal Rachae. She's all one. And I think it's beautiful that you've built such an awesome business. So any final words that you'd like to say to everyone today?
Hmm. I always default back to just showing up. It's like sometimes it goes for the 60-day sprint too. It's like, it's going to be a little extra work. You know what I mean? But it never ends up feeling that way once you show up. If you just show up, there's always so much. It's like it returns tenfold. The energy, you feel good about it in the end. So, the day in your practice when you don't want to show up, or you change somebody's life, it's like just show up and do the best that you can that day, and it'll all come back to you.
Yeah. Keep showing up, keep
Keep
showing up,
showing up.
keep showing up, keep showing up. I love it. Well, thanks to all of you for joining us today. I know we went over. I always try to make these like 10 or 15 minutes. They never are 10 or 15 minutes. And it's so much like great stuff. So if this has been beneficial to you, please share it with others. That is a way that you can be a part of what we're doing, is share it with the people that that we don't know, so they have an opportunity to get the help that they need that maybe you can't help them with. So Rachae, thank you so much to all of you. God bless you and have a great night.